Back now to our top story, Apple. Our guest tonight owns shares of the company and says he's adding more to his portfolio. He's John Stephenson, portfolio manager at First Asset Investment Management. John, thanks for joining us. You know, everybody this afternoon was talking about what's wrong with Apple, and its stock was selling off, and you're adding to your portfolios. What does Apple have going for it?
Pretty much everything. The stock is cheap. That's the first thing. It's trading at 9 times X cash versus the overall market at 15 times, and the tech sector at 13.6. And then even if you throw in the implications of cash, you're at 12.7 times or so. So it's still cheap. It's got early days really with China, Brazil, India. So emerging markets are still a growth story. It hasn't done anything in enterprise. Plus, it has a ton of potential. I mean, it's got 575 million customers that they can tap into new services, internet-based services, or just additional offerings. So that's something that, and then of course there's the widely rumored iWatch, iTV, maybe a combined iPad/MacBook Air. So there's tons of potential that the company has. And again, it's a company that is very inexpensive. So I think it really has everything going for it.
John, the company had record revenues in the quarter. It beat estimates on the top and bottom lines. And yet, investors seem to focus on two things: iPhone sales, which didn't quite measure up to the forecasts, and the outlook for the current quarter's revenues. Are they getting it wrong?
Well, I think there is some concern. I mean, first quarter is seasonally weak. Of course, you have this last quarter very, very strong because of the holiday season. I think it really what came down to guidance. iPhone sales were a little bit light at 51 million. Versus the street expectation at 56. But when you look at what happened, is earnings were quite substantial. They really beat quite handily, 1450 versus the street at 1409. And I think the deal was that the iPhone 5S, which is high margin, really carried the day. So I think the good news is they're selling more of the high margin stuff. And again, all of China Mobile is huge. And I think you've got a potential to have, 10 billion or more in additional revenue through the course of the next 12 months, because this is just a new deal. So I think overall, it looks very attractive going forward, but again, the guidance for that first quarter was a little bit weak, and people were disappointed. I mean, it came in quite a bit lower than people were hoping.
Right. You know, I hear what you're saying, John, but I just wonder, do you think that Apple management, Tim Cook, is going to feel pressured that he has to do something to, stem this sell-off in the stock, maybe raise the dividend, maybe, buy back shares, the kinds of things that Carl Icahn, the activist investor, has been calling for?
Yeah, no, I think there's going to be some of that, but I don't think you're going to see $142 a share coming back to investors anytime soon. I mean, I think you're looking at some potential for share buybacks, some potential for a dividend increase. I think that's clearly where they need to go over time. But I think what they should be doing is really innovating for that next wave, because I think that's really what the street is looking for. What is going to take it higher? Will it be the iPhone 6, potentially with a bigger screen? That will allow them to go more head-to-head with Samsung's offering. But I think that's where the focus will remain and should remain.
That's one of the things that I've been curious about, whether they're going to come out with a larger screen phone, because my guess is that what I seem to hear you suggesting, John, is that they need to get their wow back. They haven't had the wow in the last year or two.
Yeah, I don't know if you're like me, Tyler, but I mean, I pretty much have every Apple product out there. And, it's pretty exciting at first when you get it. But then you think, well, you know what? I kind of know my way around the 5 and the 5S. And, I don't see a huge implication for it. But I do think that what they've done is they've put together a lot of really good pieces. I do think the large screen iPhone that's rumored to come out with a 5-inch screen will be a big game changer for them. I do think they're early days in the enterprise market. And keep in mind the biometrics that they came out with the 5S, that will help them in terms of security going forward. And they have a fully integrated program where they have both the software and the hardware. And, that allows them a tremendous user experience. When you buy an Android phone, which is, and the phones are really the bread and butter of this company, you're stuck with the operating system. But, within a month, 70% of the people have a new operating system when iOS is updated.
All right, John, thanks a lot for all that information. Really appreciate it. John Stephenson, portfolio manager at First Asset Investment Management.